Hello, golf fans. Chris Terrell here to bring another DFS PGA video. Before we do that, I'm going to tell you where you can get all of my content. Head over to www.patreon.com/JagerBombs. For $5 a month gets you access to one sport. $10 a month gets you access to all sports. And right now I'm covering NHL, college basketball, League of Legends, PGA, soccer, UFC, college football, NBA, baseball, NASCAR, NFL. We've got some tennis on the way as well. Some of these sports are in their off seasons, of course, but I do cover them all when they are in season. For Canadians, that's $7 a month, $13.50 per month for all sports. That gets you access to the cheat sheet, which is full of information, course history, current form, odds to DFS salaries. We've got statistics, rankings of statistics. We've got the models over here as well. Also gets you access to my Slack chat, where I provide a ton of information in here, looking at the course every week, the field, course information, last 5 winners, stats in my model, top bets throughout the week. I update weather in here as well. So there is a lot going on. So make sure to get over to patreon.com/JagerBombs. Sign up today. And I've got another giveaway this week, so make sure to comment below with your pick to win. The winner will be random generated at the end of the tournament from the YouTube video here in the comments section. If you do win, it'll be $25 via PayPal. If you are a Patreon member, I'm going to double that prize for you. And if you pick the winner as well, I will double that again. So up to $100 for Patreon member this week if you pick the winner and your pick here. So make sure to like the video, comment below. With that said, let's get into this week's video. Hello, golf fans. Welcome back to another DFS PGA preview video. This week, Dane and I will be breaking down the Valspar Championship, looking at the course, weather, key stats, DFS plays, top bets, one and dones, and much more. Dane, how's it going tonight, buddy?
It's going good. Ready to dive back in after a week off, kind of, with the two-man tournament last week. It was one to kind of watch. That was kind of fun, but glad to be back to a normal stroke play event and get back in the groove of things as we lead up to an interesting summer of golf. PGA Championship here in a few weeks. So, yeah, ready to get back going.
Yeah, and my local course opens up here in about 2 days, and the weather is looking just fancy. So I'm just really excited myself here. Big championships coming up for me. No, but
Yeah.
we were talking a little bit offline about the Zurich Classic and just kind of how much we take into account and put into weight statistically and narratively going forward of some of the stuff that was going there. And you had mentioned a little bit that look maybe at the guys that were throwing birdies, making a lot of birdies and stuff on the best ball days, especially. Myself, I think that's a great strategy, and look at a little bit on the other side of things. I'm not really dinging a player for a bad performance in these one-off unique events, kind of like your match play event or whatever. It's nice to see players do well in these one-off events, but not necessarily a ding for guys that do bad in them. What is that kind of the way you're looking at it?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like the match play and things like that. So, yeah, I'm like you said, I'm looking at people who made a lot of birdies on Thursday and Saturday when they were playing their own ball on every hole. And they were obviously being a little more aggressive than they normally would in a stroke play event. But I'm glad to look at that to see guys that either continued form or found maybe just a little bit of form last week. Obviously, we don't have the strokes gained stats, but we can look back and see who was carrying the team per se for
Yeah,
those 2 days.
exactly. Like day one there when Christopher Ventura was carrying the team. That was awesome to watch. Christopher with a
Yeah,
K.
let's just say Sunday, I don't think he was carrying them when they were +5 or 6.
No,
So.
he was not. He definitely was not. But I'm also glad that that event's over. It was a nice week off from making the sheet and updating things and playing and setting DFS lineups and that sort of thing. So it was a nice refresher and really back ready to get back in this week. So this week's PGA Tour heads back to Florida for the Valspar Championship. Like I said in the opening, this event was canceled last year due to COVID-19. Defending champ Paul Casey, who's actually the back-to-back champion here, he won it in 2018 and 2019. The event is a 156-player field. The cut is back to top 65 in ties after the second round, which is Friday. I'm just going to flip over here, and we're going to have a look at the sheet. Generally, what is your, I guess, initial thought in terms of the field when we're looking at the top here?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
so I mean, looking at the top of the field, one thing I'm looking for with golfers this week, I mean, this course is one that's known for not hitting driver off every single tee for sure. It's kind of a lot of stroke play or stroke play. I'm getting mixed up with the tournaments here, but a lot of approach play
Yeah.
that comes into it for guys who play well here. They've been good with their irons. I think short game comes in around here. This is not one of the easier courses on tour, so you're not going to see, probably not going to see like a 20 under winner. I think last winners here have been 8, 10, 14, 7, right around that 10 to 15 mark of under par. So it's kind of a mid range as far as difficulty this week, which is good to see. I like these kind of events that aren't just absolute birdie fest, but you're going to need to be striking the ball well and being able to get up and down if you do miss some of these greens. So as far as top of the field, I'll let you talk about what you're looking for in golfers, but the top of the field is pretty stacked this week with JT and DJ. Going to be interesting to see how they come back. Just kind of off a little bit of a layoff, post-Masters and things like that.
Yep.
But Hovland played last week. 10-5 is a little steep for him. I think if I was going to come all the way to 10K plus, I think I would go up top to JT at 11-5. I think, he's got decent history here, 2015 to 17, 10th, 18th, 93rd, which is not up to his standards, but at least he's seen the course a few times. So I think I would go all the way up to JT. And then second on that list for me would actually be Patrick Reed. I know Casey's won here back-to-back times that they had it in 18 and 19, but Patrick Reed, 2 second-place finishes in 18 and 15. And I think he's kind of hungry this summer, I think, to get things going. So he fits this course. It's not an overly long course off the tee. Like I mentioned, you don't need to bomb it. So that kind of fits Reed a little bit as well. So 10-3 is fine for him too. So those are my two 10K and above.
Nice. And you had mentioned the course. So just want to give a couple stats here about the course because it is a little unique. Innisbrook Resort, Copperhead course, par 71, over 7,300 yards. So that seems a little bit long being that it's a par 71. What makes it unique is there's 5 par 3s, and 4 of those par 3s are over 200 yards. And then when you look at the par 4s, there's only 9 of them. 3 of them are over 500 yards, and 5 more between 400 and 450. The par 5s are the 4 easiest holes in the course by far. 560 yards, 605, 575, and 590. But when you start looking at the scorecard here, and I've got it over here, and then we've got some course stats we'll look at here as well. Not one hole outside of those par 5s played under par in the 2019 event. Really, really tough holes. The 16th hole rated out as the hardest. 18th, another par 4, was the third hardest. So that closing stretch was first, 8th, and third ranked holes in terms of difficulty. And the course overall has ranked, I believe, inside the top 10 in 5 of the last 6 events here, and the other one, and that was 4 of those times it was 6th or better in terms of difficulty ranking, and that includes the majors. So this is a very tough test. So I'm 100% with you in terms of ball striking. Overall, tee to green is going to be there as well. Like you said, the average greens in regulation and fairways hit has been around 55 to 58% for the field over the last 5 trips here. So you're going to need to hit fairways, and when you're not, I'm looking at as well. Just most of my weight is going to be on the tee to green stats, looking at your off the tee approach and around the green. But I'm going to add in a few other things. Par 4 scoring, obviously, because it's very difficult. I think you can set yourself apart with that par 4 scoring, as well as rough proximity. If a lot of the field isn't going to be hitting, the best players in the field, I believe last year there was only 3 players that hit over 70, or not last year, 2019, 3 players that hit over 70% fairways or greens in regulation. The year before that, 2018, there was only 1 player with over 70% GIR there. So ball striking is definitely going to get you ahead, and par 4 scoring. So that's definitely what I'm looking at as well. going into that top range, the guys that you mentioned, I am definitely for my GPP builds for sure. I'm going a little bit more balanced in terms of my cash lineup. Probably start with Paul Casey. Him as the fifth most expensive in the field, coming off back-to-back wins here at this event. I know they skipped last year, so it's been a couple of years, but he also ranks out well in my model when I'm looking at strokes gained tee to green on difficult courses, uh, strokes gained tee to green in windy conditions, because it looks like the early forecasts are showing about 10 to 18-mile-an-hour winds, pretty much steady throughout the whole week. Yeah, that could change, but as of now, I'm not putting any splits into anything whatsoever in terms of day. We'll look at that a little bit more on Wednesday, but I'm generally looking at guys that are a little bit better in the wind. We're not going to see the extreme winds or anything like that, but when we get in the 15 to 18-mile-an-hour range, that definitely affects things. So I will look at that as well. So Casey stands out in that fashion as well. And then, of course, Corey Connors. Now, I want to first of all talk about the betting market, because it just seems crazy that Corey Connors' number at 20 to 1 is smaller than Paul Casey at 22. So for that reason alone, I'll be betting Paul Casey outright as well as playing him in DFS. But in DFS, getting Corey Connors, I know it seems a little expensive, but 9,600 in this field, his ball striking has been absolutely amazing lately. And what really gets me is that he's been working on his putting, and I believe he has gained strokes putting in 5 or 6 events straight in terms of the shot tracker events that track it. We don't have that for the Masters, but sorry, 4 straight and 5 of his last 6 events. So I wanted to get your take in this top tier. I know you like those other guys there, but what do you think of Connors? He's got some experience here as well.
Yeah, I love Connors this week, and if you compare his betting odds to his DFS price, I'm definitely fine paying 9.6. I
Yeah.
don't know about betting him at 20, so it's like
Yeah.
the books almost know something, or I don't know. I mean,
Right.
he's been playing great. I mean, his last 5 events, top 15s in every start. Obviously, trending very well. He's always been good tee to green, getting that putter going a little bit. This is the kind of course that sets up well for him too. So, yeah, I love Corey Connors this week. He's kind of the one that I like in that top of the 9K range.
Yeah.
From there, I like dropping down to right around 9 and then just below it. So Russell Henley is one for me that I
Love
like.
it.
Ninth here in 2017. Been playing very well, really, since last year when the restart happened. So he's one that I really like. And another one that I think is going to be kind of mixed feelings about across the industry this week is Rose at 8,800. Kind of seen him strike a little bit of form when he at the Masters last time out. As far as a normal stroke play event, he played last week with Stinson, and they look pretty good. So maybe he's found a little something. I think he's back working with his coach that they split from a little bit last year. So I think Rose 8,800 is still a fair price for him. So I'm going to be playing him as well. And I haven't made my mind yet. Mind up yet on Neiman at 9,100. It honestly seems a little bit steep to me, which is saying something. So I'm not made my decision there yet.
Well, that's an interesting range, to be honest with you. And you started off with Russell Henley. I absolutely love it. He was one of my early outright bets. We'll talk about our bets closer to the end here a little bit. But what stood out with me is that 9K price tag, the form coming in off back-to-back top tens. He's got some experience here, T42 in 2019, top 10 in 2017. I believe 2016 was he made the cut with the T71. That's back when the cut was T70. So I believe that was he's made the cut in all 3 trips. But then I started looking at the difficult condition narrative, the windy narrative, and he is, I believe, top 3. I posted it in chat earlier. I'm just going to bring that up. I mentioned there was 5 players in my model looking at the last 24 rounds. This is using Fantasy National, so I looked at last 24 rounds tee to green with windy conditions and the last 24 rounds in difficult scoring conditions, and just kind of put a 50% weight on both of them. I just kind of wanted to see. Henley was number 1 in difficult conditions, 3rd in windy. Justin Thomas was 2nd in both. Casey was 3rd and 6th. Scheffler was 6th and 1st, and Eric Van Rooyen was 9th and 4th. Those were the 5 players that ranked top 10 in both of those categories. So Definitely like Henley at 9K. I think you could easily build a core if you wanted to, just go off those narratives alone. I'm going to have a bunch in my 20 max, probably at least 6 cores or 7, right around that Henley and Casey build. But you mentioned Justin Rose. I think that's going to be, honestly, when we come Wednesday and start breaking down some ownership projections, I think he's going to be lower owned. You've got Henley right above him. You've got Jason Kokrak right there, who I think is going to be probably top 3 to 5 in ownership this week. I like it. He's got top 10s here in his last 2 trips to this course. He has got top 15s in 4 of his last 6 trips, made the cut in 5 of those 6 trips, and he's coming in with good form too. T49 wasn't the greatest of showings at the Masters. Before that, he had 3 straight top 10. So I think he's going to take a lot of ownership. And I normally like to pivot off these guys. I might make a separate build here again this week because I really do like Kokrak at this price in this event. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, good form in general and good form here. Back in 19th, 2nd, 8th. I mean,
yep.
That was, I don't even think he was the same golfer that he is right now back then. So, awesome. As far as consistency wise, is what he's been playing lately. So, yeah, he's going to be popular, but a good play for sure.
And then going down to the bottom of the 8K range from the top there, I'm just skipping all the way down. And one player who I think, just because a lot of people look at course history, I think a lot of people might, or at least the ownership on him, Chris Kirk I'm talking about, we've been on him, or at least I've been on him for, it seems like, since the start of the year. And it's been a good run for him. Like playing him cash almost every single week has been great. And 8,200, the price is getting up there. And I get it. He's made the cut in 2 of his last 4 trips, but he's missed the cut badly in 3 of 5 trips here, going back to 2011. I think that might get some people off of him going up to Kokrak or down to, even Keegan Bradley, Sam Burns. Who else do we got down here? Lucas Glover going down into the top of that 7K range. I think Kirk is going to be a little bit lower owned, and I like it. And I'm not really worried about his ownership for cash games because dude has been playing awesome. He's gained strokes off the tee in 6 straight. He's gained strokes on approach in 5 of the last 6, and he's just on a really good run. Top 10s in back-to-back events. Made the cut in 6 straight. Sorry. So I'm definitely got him in my cash build, and if it looks like he's going to be low, I'm definitely going to be about double the field on him in GPP as well, I think.
Yeah, I haven't decided on him fully for GPPs at least. I think I do like a couple more. I mean, he's got upside. I don't want to say he don't have upside with the way he's been playing, but I do like the full upside of a couple guys around him a little bit more. But I would sign up right now for a top 10 from him, which is very possible at 8,200. Obviously, you said maybe the course history will keep him a little lower on than he has been. So that'll be something interesting to watch come Wednesday evening for sure. You mentioned Keegan Bradley. I think he's going to be one of my favorites right around this range this week. He's just a decent putting week away from really contending in one of these events. 7,900 is a fine price for him too. We want ball strikers here, so Keegan's not a guy I usually go to, but I'm fine playing him. He's actually not been putting horrible.
No.
Over his last 4 events, he had one that he lost. He gained strokes in 3 of 4, so that's interesting to see. Yeah, that's very unheard of for him. I think he'd lost in about 8 straight before that, maybe 9. But maybe he's turned the corner. If he's flat putting, that's what we want. So if he's anywhere positive, he's going to crush for the week, I would think. So Keegan's one of my favorites there.
Before you go past Keegan, he hasn't gained strokes putting in 3 of 4 events since June of 2017. I just thought I'd throw that in there. So this is big for him. This is really big. And after he did that, that led to back-to-back top 10 finishes. So, I mean, I'm just saying he only needs a top 25, so I think that's a good floor for cash. And I think he's got top 10 side if he can gain a stroke or 2. So I'll let you go on with that mid-K range again.
Yeah, I'm definitely in on Keegan this week. Kevin Na is interesting. He does have a 2nd and a 10th here in 14 and 15. He's kind of been all over the place as far as form, though. So I'm not really sure what I want him. You could sprinkle him in a 20 max build. Not one of my favorites for sure. Actually, there's one I've really not figured out what I want to do with the rest of this upper 7 range. When I get down to the mid range, there's a guy that I have my eye on that I don't think many are going to play at 7,400. So I'll leave the rest of the upper sevens to you. Maybe you can convince me on a couple guys, but Sam Horsfield, I think, is interesting to me for GPPs. This guy has been crushing it on the European tour. I'm pretty sure I'll have to look it up that he played college golf in Florida. I'll have to confirm that in just a minute. But since the turn, last 4 events on the European Tour, 4th, 15th, 3rd, 8th. He's up there on tour in strokes gained approach, all the tee to green stats. So Horsfield's definitely going to be one that I'm going to play this week. So he's a Gator. Yeah, I thought he played down there. So
I'm sorry if
he's
that's
coming
not
back
the Gator.
over. He just
I just did the Gator chomp. I don't know if that's the Florida Gator thing. I might have got that wrong.
It is.
Okay,
it
good.
Is.
I don't feel as bad now. Perfect.
We can ask Mike, right?
Yeah.
I know he's a Gator. But yeah, I mean, 7,400 is a fine price for him. Obviously, he plays most of his golf on the European tour, but this guy has been absolutely on fire for this whole year. So I'm definitely fine going to Horsfield at 7,400 in an event that maybe he's familiar with Florida golf. I know he just played last week overseas, so he's got to be traveling, but that don't bother me a bit at this price.
No, I'm just trying to dig up his strokes gained stats over on that tour. Just really wanted to.
Yeah, I had it. Let's see. So strokes gained approach. I think he ranks 12th.
Oh wow. Yeah, look at that.
Strokes gained approach over 16 rounds, 4 events on tour in 2021. He's averaging 1.15 strokes gained per round, 12th on the European tour. Strokes gained tee to green. He is 18th on tour, averaging 1.69 strokes gained per round there. And he's actually not negative strokes gained around the green, which I think when he came out of college and was first kind of on the scene, that was where he struggled. And he's actually positive there, not one of the top on tour, but he's plus 0.2 around the green over those 4 events as well in this calendar year. So he's kind of firing on all parts of his game. So I really like him this week.
Awesome. Myself, in that 7K range, there's a couple guys that I like. Doug Gim's one of them for sure. We've been getting him in a high 6, mid 6K range. It's surprising that his price has taken this long to come up. I mean, you look at last year, it was kind of a disaster how many cuts he missed. He came into this year, and he's just been firing on all cylinders. Like, the approach game is absolutely insane. I believe it's 9 straight he's gained strokes. He's gained 3 or more strokes in 3 of his last 4 events. The off the tee game has been there very consistently. So tee to green, he's been awesome. The putting is what lets him down. But even in these events where he's lost 7.5 strokes putting at the Valero and still finished T44. He missed the cut at the Honda, losing 4.1 strokes. But those two are kind of outliers. Usually, if he's losing strokes, it's like half a stroke or one to 1.5 strokes, something like that. So from that price tag, I think we can go cash games if you want to pay up for some guys, because like overall he's been consistent when he's making the cuts. He's top 30, top 25, and he got upside of top 10. He had a T5 at the Amex where he gained 5.8 strokes tee to green, and overall he's gained 4.5 strokes tee to green in 5 of his last 8 events. So he's been going at that, and at that price, I definitely like it. And then Denny McCarthy stands out as well. I think he's going to take some ownership. He had a top 10 here in 2019 in his first trip. That was really nice to see. And he's coming in off of a T13, T34, and T3, and those were at the RBC Heritage, Valero, and Honda. So he's really trending in form. He does have that one appearance here, so he has played here. And then even looking at the difficult course conditions, stuff like that, I think he's inside the top 40 in terms of difficulty and windy conditions. So I definitely like to see that as well. So definitely on Denny McCarthy in that mid 7K range, and those are my 2 favorite in that range for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of name value in that upper seven range that I think might, at least if it doesn't concentrate on one guy up there, I think it'll accumulate quite a bit of ownership from
Yep.
like Sam Burns, all the way down even to really to Van Rooyen, all the way down to all those Streelman, Woodland, Glover, Kisner, Howe, Grace, Hadwin. All those guys are going to get a little bit of ownership. So I think this range overall is going to be spread out on Wednesday night when we look at projected ownership.
I think personally, maybe I'm just thinking cash game mindset here, but people looking at course history, I think Glover and Burns, just because of obviously Burns T12, T30 in his two trips here, and Glover T13, T18 in two of his last three trips here, both have form as well. I think they're going to be the highest owned in that range. I'm with you that Woodland's going to take some ownership. I think even Kistner's going to take some ownership, although his form has been just terrible outside of the
Oof.
match play. Keegan Bradley
Yeah.
up there as well. So I think, yeah, some of the guys. I think come Wednesday we are going to find a few of these guys that will come low owned. But even if they don't come low owned, like you said, it's going to be spread out enough where one guy isn't going to be 15 to 18% in this range. And that's kind of the range when we start talking these mid 7K range to high 7K, even the guys in the 6K range. This is where if we see a guy projected for 15 to 20%, that's where I really start considering fading and looking for those pivots. So we'll just have to wait till Wednesday night and see where that shakes out. This is definitely the range where that's going to matter the most to me, to where I'm going to have the most exposure to. So we'll look at that on Wednesday. Is there any guys kind of, we'll call them, like if you're going stars and scrubs, the low 7K down into that 6K range that you're looking at?
Yeah, there's one guy that stands out right now early in the week, and it's Keith Mitchell. He's kind of been a guy in the past that played really well in Florida, and it looked like he found a little bit of form at Valero with a 17th, gained strokes everywhere except lost point 0.3 around the green. So maybe he found a little bit of something there, and 7,000 is a fine price for him. He was 11th here back in 2017 when he was kind of finding quite a bit of form back then. So I'll take a shot on Keith Mitchell down there this week. Other than that, there's a lot of course history narratives you could walk into down there if you think Stinson found a little bit of something last week. I mean, they look decent as a team, but it's one of those things you might need to dig in a little bit more and see how he played specifically on the 2 days with Rose. Schwartzel was another one that looked decent last week. Obviously, they were right in it till the end, him and Louis. And he's actually won here back in 16. So I don't know. I don't think he'll be super high on this week. And I don't know that I'm in on him at all. It's a lot of more digging that I want to do before I make any rash decisions down here this week for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. One guy that I really kind of find interesting in my stars and scrubs build, and I almost consider him for cash games, but I'm definitely not going that route now that I've built some lineups, is Roger Sloan at 6,500, 250 to 1 odds. Um, what I like is he's played here once. He made the cut, T60, nothing great, but I mean, from a guy in this range, making the cut is about what we're looking for as a floor. If they can get us a top 25, that's definitely exceeding value. You're putting up 10x to 15x value by getting a top 25 in these events. What I like most is his form. He's got top 25 finishes in three of his last four events. And in this field, he ranks 19th in strokes gained approach and 18th in strokes gained tee to green overall over the last 24 rounds coming in. So the form is definitely there. He's got experience at this course and he's 6,500. So, like in a 20 max build, I'm only looking at maybe, I think having him in 2 to 3 lineups is going to be more than the field. If you go 4, you're going to probably double the field. I definitely like that. If he makes the cut, like I said, it's not going to kill your lineup. And if he puts in a top 25 T, somewhere between say a top 20 or a T20 and a T30 somewhere in there, I think he's crushing his value 10x. So that's one guy I'll be looking at in my builds. He's the first one that stood out to me. But like you said, I'd be definitely going to be looking in a little bit further into these guys, digging in like Brian Stewart, is one that kind of pops off right away. Just going to throw a few out here that stand out. He's got T18 here in 2019, T38 in 2017. So he's got some decent course history mixed in. He's coming off, absolutely terrible form, but a T18 in his last event. So he might have found something coming into an event he's familiar with. Ryan Armour's another one down here. It's got good course history. So just kind of looking at this course history and all the green in this 6K range just tells you that we're going to get probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these guys that pop off at this event down in this range. So when you see the GPP winning lineups, come Sunday and all those guys inside the top 10 of the big GPPs, you're probably going to see a bunch of these mid 6K guys. So this is a range we're definitely going to want to dig into. So definitely hit us up in chat. Check our cores out by the end of the week. We're going to have rankings up. We rank our top 3 to 5 players in every price range on the sheet as well for the members, as well as on Wednesday, we're going to try and do a live show. Both of us, one of us, we're not sure yet, but we've got weather that we definitely want to discuss, ownership projections and that sort of thing. So there's a lot more coming down the rest of this week. Before we take off here, Dane, anything else that we maybe didn't touch on that you wanted to mention?
What about Chase Koepka down at 6,200?
Oh, the other Koepka. So if we got a Brinks truck.
He was 30th at the Honda last month, so it's not like he was completely out of form or anything. He went to college down in South Florida as well, so he's getting his opportunity down here in the state. Played decent at the Honda, so maybe he's worth a GPP flyer down there at 60 or 6,000. I said 6,200. $6,000 min price Chase Koepka.
Okay, do you know what stood out the most out of those 2 events? T26, the 3M Open. That was back in 2020, so that's some
putting it around the green
form. Yeah, I didn't even think about him, so definitely be looking into him. And you could put him in 1 or 2. He's going to be like 1%, half a percent. So that's a great GPP flyer. You can really start stacking if you were to go 2 guys in the 6K range. When you're building GPP lineups, you can most definitely go up here in this 9K up range and get 2 guys easily in your core of your lineups, and probably another guy in the 8K range. So I love it for GPP, going down in that range and playing that, grabbing 2 of them. We see a lot of those winning lineups sometimes in the Stars and Scrubs build that make it to the top. When you see Justin Thomas win, or DJ, or we see Reed, Casey, any 2 or 3 of those guys up in the leaderboard on Sunday. Those are the builds when we see multiple guys in the DFS winning lineups from that 6K range. So I definitely like that. Myself, for cash games, like I said, just to wrap up here, I'm either going to be starting out with like Paul Casey, probably Corey Connors for sure, 9,600. Like we said, the odds to DK ranking there just makes sense for that. And then I'm probably going to head down and look at like Henley and Kokrak. Those are kind of my 3-4 core guys that I like for cash games this week. And like I said, stay tuned on Wednesday. We'll be talking weather, ownership projections. If we can't get onto the live show, we'll be talking about it in chat as well. So thanks for joining us. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you can also throw any questions down there below. Oh, also can reach us on Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9. And what's your handle, Dane? You're on mute, so no one even.
I'm muted.
Can't even
it's
hear
red,
you.
It's Red Stack 007.
It's the end of the show. No one's watching or paying attention at the end anyway.
Right.
But yeah, hit us up on Twitter. What was your handle there?
It's Red Stag 007.
Right on. That sounds good. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good luck this week.